Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Chat. Help me, chat. 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 Oh. Chat, I've been served, chat. The serving. It was so bad. I got served so bad, chat. I don't think I can keep going. I got served like all over. My whole body, chat. Everything got served. And now I don't know what's real or what's not anymore. Wow. Chat, wow, even my camera got served. Oh, chat. Oh, no. Welcome, chat, to the live stream, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. No, guys, we've received the proper attention. We've gotten on people's radars. We have rocked the boat. And so, you know, we've got the haters coming out of the woodwork. I think it's great. I think it's fun. I'm glad that people are talking about the videos. People are talking about warp drive. People are talking about free energy. Absolutely awesome. So, you know what? I pretty much just ignore the haters, but I think that they are some of our biggest fans, guys. Shout out to y'all. Thank you very much. Yeah, what is wrong with my mic? I'm going to have to get... So somebody pointed out, guys, the Redacted podcast just dropped. I haven't even been able to post a link yet. But that microphone, I'm going to probably have to get one of those microphones. Somebody said I sounded badass on that one. So whatever they have to have. Clayton Morris, if you're out there, brother, hook me up. Tell me what's going on with that. Okay. So if you have been living under a rock for the last week or so, I mean, actually, honestly, the last few weeks has been pretty incredible. So let me get you up to speed. I have been on a couple of TV shows that are probably going to air. I don't know what networks they're going to be on. The Gaia will be on the Gaia network for sure. Some other show I was on, I don't even know what it's going to be on, but there's one show that's out there that's potentially going to be really badass. That's all I can really say. It just sounds like it's going to be really badass. So it'd be really sweet if it ended up being on something like Netflix. And then because of just the attention from the president and the advisor to the president on science and technology, talking about manipulating time and space, you know, all this attention has kind of gotten back onto this idea of warp drives and wormholes and what have you. So that got the attention of people like Benny Johnson. Check out the Benny Johnson interview. Strongly recommend having like normal people check out the Benny Johnson interview, because I think he's kind of a guy that wouldn't normally take the UFO stuff too seriously, even though he's done pieces on UFO stuff. And then you can also check out, you know, the Redacted interview that just dropped. But the other one I was thinking was Jimmy Dore. Does he pronounce his last name Dore or Dory? I feel really bad even asking at this point. But the interview with him, I think, was really good too, from a perspective of somebody who's probably has no chance of believing it, you know, like, you know, and he direct messaged me before the interview. It's Dore. Okay. Yeah. I was saying it right then. So Jimmy Dore messaged me the night before saying like, hey, what should we talk about? And my answer was whatever you want. Because at this point, guys, like the evidence has been laid out, done enough podcasts and interviews that lays out the evidence in detail. And it's more of just like trying to do the best we can to wake people up. So in those interviews, I'm mostly just trying to like, I know we only have like 25 to 45 minutes max. It's like, okay, here's what this is all about. Here's the overall story. If you want to know the minutia, because there's so much evidence that backs it up, then you can watch the live streams. You can follow the content on Twitter, or you can watch the longer form interviews. And there's going to be a few more podcasts as well that I've been recording even this morning. I recorded one super early as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out, guys. I hope you guys appreciate it. Now, another announcement, chat. Hard Truths podcast, everybody. Guys, 2 Hard Truths podcasts have been booked, ready to go. I can't tell you who they are. So instead, let's guess right now in the chat. Across all platforms, if you're watching right now, chat. Okay. You can have 1 to 2 guesses. You can have 2 guesses each, okay? So who do you think I have lined up? I will tell you, don't start guessing just yet. I'll give you a couple clues, okay? Let's say neither of them are anybody that I've ever spoken to before. One is a physicist, and one does ancient archaeology. I think that's all the clues I can give. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. Is it the alien scientist? We'll have Jeremy on at some point in the future as well, actually. But no. Got some Hancocks, Weinsteins, Jimmy, Billy. Got a Randall Carlson there. Stormy Daniels. Also, so I'm not going to reveal the answer to that, but get excited. And then the other thing is that I know some information that I'm going to drop here now, which is interesting. I just think it's cute and fun, is that I know one of the people that I just highlighted. I'm pretty sure it was one of the people I just highlighted. One of the people that I just named has been asked about the MH370 videos in an interview that is going to drop in the next, I don't know, a couple weeks or something. I don't even actually know exactly when it's going to drop. But one of those people did. And I mean, like, really asked about it, like with the videos pulled up and shit like that too. Not like, something, not like a, hey, what do you think about that? And it's somebody that hasn't been on the record before on it. So I just think it's cool that more people are going on the record about it, because ultimately, guys, look at it like this. There's a lot of people out there that are haters. They think the videos are fake. They think that I'm lying or scamming or whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't care, because I know this stuff's real. So whatever, I'm bulletproof. Go for it. Take your best shot. But everybody should want the government to weigh in. Like, look at it like this. You know what? Rant time. I am going to get the United States government to admit that the MH370 videos are real. I'm going to get them to do that. Everybody says, no, that's not possible. The United States government will never admit that that's real. Yep, I am going to mark this down, bookmark it. I'm going to get them to admit that it's real. I'm going to do the impossible. That's the plan. You say, Ashton, how do you do that? I say, you get everybody talking about those videos to the point where it's so awkward that the questions have to be asked. And you already see it happening. The plan's already been in motion and it's already been working. You say, Ashton, when are you going to start that plan? It's like, I started the plan 1.5 years ago. And it's working. Because now when Benny Johnson interviews Annapolena Luna, in the back of his mind, he's going to be thinking free energy, fusion technology, warp drives. And so when Annapolena Luna is like, ooh, the gray alien, we have a new whistleblower coming out, and he says there's purplish, greenish aliens. Ooh. and they have bug eyes. Ooh, they're real scary. Ooh, they got spikes on them too. He's just going to be going, yeah. What about that free energy, though? What about that free energy, though, chat? Thank you, Steve, for the cookie and the pill chat. I appreciate you very much, sir. And the other thing, too, is we're putting Hal Puthoff on the map. We're putting Hal Puthoff on the map, chat. Like, I dare anybody out there, somebody ambush Hal Puthoff with the MH370 videos with a camera. I dare Hal Puthoff to say those videos aren't real. I dare him to destroy his legacy. I will just be sitting here just enjoying my tea. Ooh, this is delicious. I got to be honest, chat. I'm a really, really good troll. And watching Hal Puthoff squirm and having to choose between diminishing his own work and lying and claiming the videos aren't real, or saying that the videos are legit because it just completely justifies his life's work. Oh, that is just so delicious to me, chat. One more thing. Never let me become a spook, guys. Seriously, don't let me become a spook. I would be like a gremlin. I would be unstoppable. I fear for our enemies. Honestly, literally do. Do not let me become a spook, chat. Yeah, see? I have no morals. I'll just do whatever. Whatever it takes to save the country. Teleport bad guys away. No big deal. Make it happen. Okay. What are we talking about tonight, guys? There is another unification theory that I want to talk about. And the unification theory is UON. I hope it's an acronym. Maybe it's UON, unification theory. And it's by somebody that works for NASA. Get the fainting salts, chat. I'm pretty sure this is like direct confirmation that we live in a simulation. Don Lemon was right. Don't say that 3 times real quick, or he will appear through the television screen. He will crawl through it like the Ringu, and Don Lemon will appear in your house. I'm telling you guys, it's scary. That's the scariest movie I've ever seen. But here you go. We actually have to play it one time just for posterity, because it's been confirmed now that a wormhole.
What if it was hijacking or terrorism or mechanical failure or pilot error? But what if it was something fully that we don't really understand? A lot of people have been asking about that, about black holes and on and on and on and all of these conspiracy theories. Let's look at this. Noah says, what else can you think about? Black hole, Bermuda Triangle. And then Deji says, just like the movie Lost. And of course, they're also referencing the Twilight Zone, which has a very similar plot. That's what people are saying. I know it's preposterous, but is it preposterous, you think, Mary?
Well, it is. A black hole is about, a small black hole would suck in our entire universe, so we know it's not that.
Pause, chat. Record scratch. I don't know about that, lady. Mary, small black hole would suck in our entire universe? I'm going to have to go give you 5 demerit points, Mary. That's not how physics works. No, black holes don't suck in our entire universe. Otherwise, that would be like, kind of hard for our universe to exist. Now, wouldn't it? But Don Lemon was correct. Craziest part. Turns out the videos of the plane zapping out of the sky, that's actually a real black hole. Guys, we've got a Nobel Prize. Wait, come on. StreamYard, I hate you, StreamYard, so much. Ooh, that's a real black hole. Holy smokes. I pieced together something, okay? And I think I've posted this all publicly, but I just want to put it together for you guys right here, right now. So one of the emails that I went back and forth with Sal on privately was about like whether or not a black hole could really form, or if it would dissipate too quickly so that you would never be able to produce like a real black hole that's stable. And Sal said to me, because this guy was arguing that any black hole you try to make is going to dissipate from Hawking radiation before it forms. Okay. And Sal was saying to me, this guy's going to get proven wrong. So what Sal was saying is we can actually make a real black hole. So what I pieced together, and then I was going back and watching the clip of Sal saying, like, let me play the other clip of Sal. And then we're going to get into the unification theory here, I promise, guys. What were your impressions when you saw specifically this video here for the first time?
Oh, man, when I saw those orbs, I saw this thing, this one orb just start exactly what it's doing now. Just start to go around this thing. And all of a sudden, it started join another one and then another one. And I said, oh, my God, they're forming a bubble of non-ionizing radiation around this thing. There's no way. There's no way what's about to happen. I anticipated. Do you understand? I knew before that black hole happened. Let's call it a black hole.
You knew that was going to happen. Let's call it a black hole. Do you see why I played that clip? Sal knows more than what he's telling us. Somebody pointed out he seems kind of sketchy when he's talking to you. Yeah, because he is lying. He knows even more than what he's saying. So when he's like, hey, I'm calling it, like, why does he keep equating the wormhole to a black hole? Well, because the guy that kind of invented and coined the term was John Archibald Wheeler. And I've been wondering for a while if there is even a difference between a wormhole and a black hole. A lot of people have speculated if a black hole is just a wormhole as well. So here's the revelation, is that I think we can unify the ideas of a wormhole and a black hole together with these videos. And the concept is that we are breaking equilibrium. So we're on this perfectly flat equilibrium space-time that we exist in right here, right now. And for a split second, for a 0.2 seconds, we rip a hole in space-time. And what happens? It instantly folds back. It's like when the plane disappears, it's like when Hodor is holding the door. Hodor's open. He's holding that wormhole open as hard as Hodor can keep it open. Poor Hodor, though, he's doomed. He has no chance. Hodor cannot keep the door protected from the skeletons and shit. And Hodor is going to get stabbed to death. Spoiler alert, chat. Spoiler alert. And so what happens? Boom. Space-time collapses back down again. So what this would mean would be that we're not going to find small black holes. Why do we not find small black holes? And why have black holes not consumed our entire universe? Because they have to be a certain size in order to become stable. And they would have to be huge to become stable. Because from what we see there, even a black hole that's large enough to suck in a Boeing 777 dissipates within 0.1 to 0.2 seconds. Yeah, because they close up too fast. It's too small. Even a black hole big enough to suck in an entire airplane is too small to stay open for more than 0.1 to 0.2 seconds. Is that crazy to anybody else? Doesn't that seem like pretty logical connection, though? So then the idea would be we would just need a bigger wormhole. And if you make it big enough, you create a black hole to become self-sustaining. So a black hole that's a permanent black hole is so massive that it overrides the fact that space-time is trying to equalize. It can override that force. Damn, that's scary, chat. So that might be, if this is true, that's a Nobel Prize guaranteed. Like guaranteed Nobel Prize for whoever connects that. That's like as big as Hawking radiation itself. That idea basically takes Hawking radiation, which is the idea that black holes dissipate. And they actually, the black hole is not some permanent thing that stays there forever. That's what Hawking radiation basically tells us. That even a black hole, even something that light cannot escape from, There's still particles escaping from it. And so really the question is, how fast does it dissipate? And the answer is going to be based on the size, right? The smaller, the faster they're going to dissipate. The bigger, the slower it'll dissipate. I'm sure that somebody can just do the math and probably figure out if that's true. And if it is, free Nobel Prize for you, chat. Free Nobel Prize. So what I wanted to get at real quick before we jump into this is that the science starting to get kind of scary with the science. Like, I think we're now at the point. I didn't say this on Jimmy Dore, but I had this on my list. We're getting to the point with the science now where we're not even trying to prove the videos are real anymore. We've actually already done that with the science. Now we're just looking for the bodies. We're just out here looking for the bodies now. Where did they bury the bodies, man? Okay, who was it that figured out the science? When did they figure it out? Who's responsible for it? Like, who, if we wanted, we could probably figure out like who was responsible for the operation even. But I like living on this planet, and I guarantee that that's a quick death sentence. And so now it's like, I'm wondering how many Nobel Prizes we're going to be able to figure out how many Nobel Prizes are going to be able to be won from this. Because I'm thinking now we just identified the connection between the wormhole and the black hole. I think that's a Nobel Prize guaranteed. The next one, which I realized before, which is honestly just a gimme that anybody can win right now, is the connection between the EM drive, the impossible drive, warp drive, and wormholes. For a lot of you, you're going to go, well, obviously those are all connected. You've been saying that, Ashton. Well, yeah, I have been saying that because it's real, but I just realized that's a Nobel Prize right there. I didn't realize that was a Nobel Prize because some people haven't been connecting the fact that a wormhole and a warp drive are the same thing. In fact, I didn't initially. For a while, I was like, is that a warp drive? Is that a wormhole? And then I finally realized, oh, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. It's just like turning up the warp drive to maximum. Oh, now you've got a wormhole. Now you can teleport. Now you can just translocate from one location to the next. And the EM drive is actually like the weakest version of it. The EM drive is like you're on your tricycle with like training wheels. That's my EM drive. EM drive is for straight up noobs, chat. And Steve B, thank you very much for the donation in Pilled, says, wouldn't the plane be torn to shreds? This is the thing as well that's beautiful about it, Steve. A small black hole that is not big enough to self-sustain also does not do enough gravitational force to rip the plane apart. You see why it's a Nobel Prize now, Steve? So going back to the previous thought of the Nobel Prize for the connection between wormholes and black hole, is that a black hole has to be so massive that it can override the counteracting force of reality trying to close it all the time. And in a situation like that, if you go into a black hole that's like a massive one, you will get torn to shreds. Because the only reason why it can stay open like that is because of how massive it is. A small black hole, also known as a wormhole, doesn't have the mass to tear you to shreds. Now, the flip side of that is that it closes really quickly. It closes within 0.1 seconds. The good news is we only need 0.1 seconds. How long does it take to teleport from here to here? 0. Any amount of time is good enough for us. Pretty interesting, huh? For the record, if anybody disagrees, feel free to prove me wrong or do whatever you want to do. I look forward to it. I think that science is all about taking ideas and building upon them. And that one feels like a pretty strong one. Let me do a few donos here from the YouTube channel. Thank you, Amir. Huge donation. Wow. Can't wait to look back at these videos and say I was part of history. Well, you definitely are now, sir. Time to get you on JRE. Yeah, I think we've pretty much been circling around Joe Rogan at this point as well. Like hitting all his friends at this point. And I know for a fact Kurt Metzger has been doing work on him. It's probably just going to take one more push. One more like warp drive paper to get published. Or something that says that we can produce negative energy. And then Joe Rogan will probably be calling. We'll see. And like I said before, guys, I've never cared about going on Joe Rogan. I said from the beginning, Joe Rogan will eventually have me on. It's just a matter of when, because I know I'm right. So if that's the case, eventually there's going to be enough stuff stacked up where he's going to be like, okay, maybe I was duped on the debunks or whatever, right? Wyona Riders, when Jimmy Dore's fans start to sound like normies, you know you got a great guest. It's true. He's like his fans. I mean, he's pretty awake when it comes to some of this stuff, and that's why I made the point on. I don't know actually which show it was on, if it was on Redacted with Clayton or not, but a lot of people are awake to the idea that the government's lying to them. A lot of people are awake on that one. Less people are awake, but still a lot are awake to the idea that the media lies to them. Very few people are awake to the fact that academia is complete bullshit as well. Or some people realize that academia is bullshit, but they don't realize how bullshit it really is in terms of like how they gatekeep ideas out from peer review process and how they kind of peer review each other and it becomes this little cult of like, this is why there's just one foundational idea that's constantly being pushed forward and fringe ideas aren't really allowed. So understanding that about academia is so important if you want to understand how it's possible that we have this super advanced technology without like more public knowledge about it. So if you are interested in that, then check out, you know, that interview in terms of discussing how they've been able to suppress it. Ta, thank you very much, man. Appreciate the donation. Thank you. You've been following for a long time. And then David R. Would a black hole created by gravitational manipulation distort time and send the jet further into the future? It certainly could. Yes, it certainly could. So could the plane be sent into the future? If you understand time dilation, then yes. And listen to the Redacted podcast. I think I mentioned time dilation, but real quick, time is a dial that can be changed like this for every person, right? And if you can change the dial of time like this for every person, then you can have offsets in your time where, you know, I'm 1,000 years in the future from where you are. So is time travel possible? Yes. Time travel is unequivocally possible. The question is, what kind of time travel is possible? That's the rub. Truthfully, I don't think anybody knows for sure unless they've gone through a portal themselves. So maybe Eric W. Davis or Hal Puthoff knows. Unless you've gone through a portal, we're not going to be able to determine whether or not time is deterministic. Like maybe you can't go back in time for whatever reason, and we'll find out there's some law that doesn't let you go back in time. Or maybe there's many universes. Like how would we know if there's many universes or not? One last thing I want to say on this, and then I promise we're going to get into the hard science here, is that I might be wrong on the whole spiritual aspect of this thing. I pushed back hard on Tucker Carlson and on Clayton Morris on the interdimensionality and spiritual aspect of it. But if there is a many worlds answer to the universe, like there's many universes, there's infinite universes, then in some of those universes, there's probably demons and shit like that. There's probably demons in some of those infinite universes. So from a purely physics perspective, very scientific perspective, demons absolutely can exist if the many worlds hypothesis is true. Okay, there you go, chat. Sleep tight. Sleep tight, Ed. Sleep tight, Ed. Okay. Thank you very much, Matt, for the donation as well. Do you think Rogan forced to ignore you? Yeah, Rogan definitely got influenced. I mean, he was publicly open about that knowledge. You know, Rogan got influenced to not have me on, and yeah, but he makes his own decisions at the end of the day. So what? And for the record, I'm not going to snub Joe Rogan if he asks me on. I'm not that petty, chat. But I will think about like retiring the case at some point, even though I did do that and then kind of reneged on it right away. I feel like after we've talked to like let's say this. If I get to talk to Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, and Bill Maher, which is who I said I wanted to talk to at the beginning of all this thing in August of 2023, Then I'll retire the MH370 case, purely focus on science after that. Then we'll hit the trifecta. And then instead of talking about MH370, I'll just write a book. There you go. Okay. Okay, hold up with the super chats, chat, so we can do some videos, some sciencey stuff. I will keep preaching. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. What does this mean? Jordan Edwards, in link below looks too weird to ignore. I don't think you can post links in here, so I don't know. Try to figure that out. I'll post a link to the Discord. You can post it in our Discord or something. I don't know. Thank you. And then CC. What do you think about the new MH370X leaks? I know what you're talking about, so let me set the record straight on this because I see people talking about it. There's a lot of confusion. And we've also reached the point now where it's hard to control the flow of information. And I think the next thing they're going to do is they're going to take my info and they're going to try to dilute it by other people like copying it and adding bullshit to it. So there were these posts that were, I think they were on Reddit first or something like that. And people were saying, oh, you know, it's talking about space-time manipulation, stuff like that. And then after that talks about the operation. Someone's saying it's leaks. Nah, so AI made that. Basically, somebody just fed my work, all the science stuff I've been talking about. They fed that into AI and it gave a shitty output for it. Although that's the reason why it sounds so good, is because it's basically using my work and then it kind of changes up some of the jargon. That's why it sounds, some of the science stuff doesn't make any sense. And then the second half of it is using not just my work, but uses a lot of the old early Reddit investigation. So it was probably trained off of Reddit on the MH370 thing. So that was just an AI that did that. I could tell within about less than 5 minutes. The big giveaway was the NROL34. It claimed that that was being used to track the plane, and I knew exactly where that came from. That was people that were not me on Reddit talking about NROL34. So that was the giveaway, that it was AI. And it goes to show as well where somebody that's going to try to pretend to like hoax a story about the case or something like that, like they don't have enough knowledge to even like pull it off convincingly. Using AI, especially AI isn't some tool that's just going to give you something that's going to like fool people. Like I can tell an AI thing within minutes. So that's why like with the letter dash and Forbes, that wasn't something somebody wrote with AI, like no chance, compared to, you know, somebody who's just clearly taking my work and running it through AI. You can tell super fast. There's a lot of tells. Okay. So there you go. That was the answer to this donation about the new leaks, which aren't new leaks at all. And the reason why they sound legit is because it's just literally stolen using my work. Okay. UON theory, guys. Dr. U from NASA. Now, what is UON theory and what are unification theories? A unification theory is a theory in physics where we are trying to understand the quantum nature of reality, and we're trying to combine it with the cosmic, larger nature of our reality. And so tonight we're going to watch a really good interview, at least part of one, most of one probably, an interview with Dr. Yu to better understand his UON unification theory. At a very high level, what it is that all we need is magnetism. All we need is magnetism to explain everything. Everything. Everything is magnetism. At the small scales to the large scales. And I've listened to his theory. I love it. And my opinion of it is that the reason why I love it so much is that it's simple. And actually, it feels like it goes hand in hand with 0-point energy. In fact, at one point, I felt like I was listening to Salvatore Pais, because he basically says there's just one force, magnetism, that creates one particle. And I went, oh, that sounds like the super force, the one particle that creates all the others. So I think what we're going to find is that a lot of people have built a foundation for the next level of general relativity that is all pretty much the same or consistent with one another, but that they've all kind of got their own names for it. I think that's where we're at pretty much right now. So, spoiler alert, one of the interviews is, of course, Dr. Yu. So, we're doing this because I want to make sure that we ask all the appropriate questions on this interview. And if you guys have any additional questions that you think are getting missed, let me know. I'll be monitoring the chat while I'm playing some of these clips. I've already gotten down quite a few because I want to understand how this fits into the broader framework for cosmology, but also how 0-point energy fits into this theory. So the questions that I want to be asking Dr. Yu are like, for the advanced people who've been watching my stream for a while, right? Like, okay, what do we know about 0-point energy and what it can do? And how does this UON theory of magnetism explain that? For example, how does it explain coherent plasma orbs? Does it allow for an ether? I should be writing these down. Okay, here we go. Let me pull this up. Is this the right one? Yeah, okay. God. And by the way, chat, if I fangirl out during this interview, please don't think less of me. Please don't think less of me. I never thought I could have a bromance on somebody that worked for NASA. I never thought that was possible. I think it might be like a nice romance movie, a rom-com waiting to happen, you know? You've got your Tesla Electric Universe guy, and then you've got your NASA, like, you know, magnet guy, match made in heaven. Maybe we'll make a podcast together. Okay, so let's listen to my man here. Yeah, no Diddy chat, no Diddy.
4 years ago in 2013.
Okay.
That was at that time. So there's a news talking about James Webb Space Telescope, and try to accomplish one thing that struck me called try to observe the first light. The first light, or called the oldest light. I would think about maybe we have a problem with our understanding light. So you can see through these three transparencies, right? Mm-hmm. So you can see through.
Hold on, Chad. I know what's about to happen here. Hold on. I'll just mute it, okay? I'm going to let him talk, and I'm just going to speak over it. This way I won't get copyright strike. So basically, he's holding polarized sheets of light, polarized lenses here. And he's saying if light is a particle, then the light should be able to go right through it, right?
And stack two of them together. Mm-hmm. One would expect, of course, you can see through them because particle can go through three of them. Particle should go through two of them. Let's see what happens.
Is it going to go through, chat?
I don't know if you can see. See what happens. Light being blocked. So here's what I did. I rotate. So now, my question is, why light have anything to do with the rotation of some transparencies, right?
Yeah.
Particle.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a different experiment because I had. Wait, what was that one called again, chat? That one's called. Is it polarized light? Is that what that one's called? Hold on. Yeah, here we go. I've got a better one. I'll show you.
Here I'm playing around with polarized light. Sunlight is unpolarized. Really matter what angle that if I use a polarizing filter. If you have two filters and they're polarized in the same direction, then essentially nothing too interesting happens. If the polarizers cross, then essentially light making it through one filter is horizontally polarized. Then the next filter only lets through the light that's vertically polarized, so cumulatively nothing makes it through. This is used to have adjustable filters in photography fairly often. Now, something really interesting starts to happen, and in fact, a quantum effect begins to kick in if I ask three questions. So, surprisingly, the answer I get depends on the order that I ask the questions. So, if I have a
look at that, chat. You can see right through it now. So the question here is, why the hell is that doing that? Well, why is that doing that? My man literally just changed where he put his sideways polarized like lens, and it allows the light to go through. If you can't see it, you can see the light goes through. You can see the white thing behind.
Horizontally, diagonally, and then vertically polarized. I get a different.
And if he changes it flat, you can't see through again.
Answer than if I ask horizontal, vertical, or horizontal, vertical. So in between, I actually get a lot more light transmission than you would expect. And this is an angular dependent.
Okay, so what did we just learn right there, chat? What is it that Dr. Yu is saying? Dr. Yu is saying that light is not a particle. Can't be a particle. Particle should have no problem going through those polarized lenses, right? To a particle, those polarized lenses don't even exist there. So that means light must be a wave. There must be something else going on with light, right? And this is what I love about this, because we're just looking at an experiment. Polarized lens, basically, like imagine just a bunch of lines going either this way or this way, crossing that way or that way. How can a bunch of lines like this be blocking a particle? They can't. Can't be blocking a particle. A bunch of lines like this and a bunch of lines like that shouldn't be blocking a particle, but it can be blocking a wave. Can be blocking a wave, right? So let's allow Dr. Yu to keep going here.
Can go through them. The particle of light can be infinitely small. So why light cannot go through two of them? So maybe this kind of particle concept of light may have the problem. So now I have another transparency in my hand. So what happens if I keep my left hand, the light?
Okay, we already showed him that. So
that means light cannot be a particle. If a particle can go through three of them, particle should go through two of them. Now I try to demonstrate.
Okay, chat. So if you were paying, when I butchered the analogy before, he's about to give you the spiciest light analogy you will ever hear. I might even make him say it again when I interview him. Pay attention. This is what you need to understand. Here we go. Hopefully this is it.
Try to demonstrate what is light. Okay. So here is a 9-volt battery and a little light bulb. Look at what happens if I put this one here. That's my flashlight for the hurricane season. Okay. So the question is, can everyone in the auditorium can see this light?
Yeah.
People say, of course. So my next question, imagine if light is a stream of particles from a light source, how many particles would be needed for everybody in the auditorium to see at the same time? In order for everyone see the light particles at the same time, because of different distance, different directions. That means this light particle generated from the little battery has to occupy every single point in the auditorium at the same time. Is that possible? If you think about it, you can generate enough particles, occupy every single point in the auditorium at the same time. That means infinite, times infinite, 3-dimensional. So that's impossible. So what I thought about it, okay, so let's think about it. Another alternative expression, say, assuming light is a wave. See, assuming the space.
Hold on, let's pause it right there, because he just nailed the first half of it. What a beautiful analogy, right? So imagine in my cup here, imagine this is a light, or just look at the light right back there. Does it matter where in the room I am to see that light? No. My eyeballs can be anywhere in this room, and I'm going to see that light. But wait, how is that possible? If I can be anywhere in the room and see that light, that means that light must be sending particles everywhere in the entire room. And the room is infinitely large from the perspective of it getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And a light particle is potentially infinitely small as well. So what you would be saying is there must be an infinite amount of photons in order to make that be possible. And this is my number one question for Dr. Yu. How do you resolve Einstein's photoelectric effect? Einstein basically found out that light interacts with reality in packets, in chunks of energy. It's not continuous stream. It's interacting in chunks, photons. And so how does this view, where you would say that the light cannot be shooting particles in all directions all the time, that would create infinite. How do you resolve Einstein's photoelectric effect, which is experimentally proven? Light is definitely working in packets, wave packets, if you want to think of it like that. So it'll be very interesting to see his answer to that. Now, the follow-up then is, okay, you've convinced me it can't be a particle. It would be able to go through the polarized lenses if it was a particle. And what he just explained with light in the middle of the room and everybody seeing it and it taking up every point in the room doesn't make a lot of sense either. So, what is the real answer then?
Is in the auditorium filled with particles already. Already. So there's no particle whatsoever traveling out light source. Conventional understanding is see light is light has a particle traveling out the light source across the street, space, and hit your eye. Since the light cannot be particle, if it's a wave, means space already filled with particles everywhere. So what happens for the light source? The light source is nothing more, just a little disturbance. And then it's like a water fill up the ocean. When you throw a rock, create called excitation, and then what happens? Create a ripple and a wave. And this wave is already in vibration in the medium and travel at the speed of light. And after 1 second, that means traveling around Earth 7.5 turns per second. Basically, everybody on Earth can see this light at the same time. So the conclusion is, whenever see light, there's no particle whatsoever traveling outside of the light source. It just make a excitation or disturbance, and then create a vibration of the particles already in the medium. It's a medium particles in vibration.
Let's effing go, chat. Oh, are you kidding me, chat? Oh, chat, our PhD savior has come, and he's come from an unlikely source, NASA. I could never have imagined. I think we've proven the simulation at this point. We've proven the simulation. Don Lemon was right. Dr. Yu, our savior, our magnetic savior, is coming from NASA. That would be literally, quite literally, the last place I would have ever expected we would get physics, scientific backing and support. Quite literally, last on the list, even after like Turkmenistan and various other third world countries. I had NASA below them. Quite astonishing. Yeah, quite ironic. So now that we've praised ourselves, what did he just say? He said it's not that we're shooting particles throughout the entire room. That's stupid. The particles are already there. The room is already filled with particles everywhere. Why? Because we're in an electromagnetic medium of 0-point energy. Chat, they're saying that the ether is back, chat. The ether is back, baby. Doesn't it just make so much more sense? Light is just a disturbance in the medium. That's why it acts like a wave and a particle, because it's a disturbance in the medium. We're in the medium too. The medium is just very still. That's why we don't see the weird distortions. Wow. Okay. Dr. Yu, you've got my attention, good sir. At first, you had my curiosity, and now you have my attention. Shallow and pedantic.
Or you can say, whenever you see light, there's no particle traveling at the speed of light.
Wait. Is it possible, chat? Is it possible that Mr. NASA man, Dr. Yu here, could get more based? Could he get more based? He basically just said the ether is real. Like, do you think Dr. Yu could possibly ask some of the most basic questions ever? Let's find out.
Whatsoever. Otherwise, we all go blind. So what happens is the particles next to you is just vibrating. So that's how you can sense what is light. If light...
Oh, chat, I already like where this one's going. Problem with electricity? Oh, yes. And why is that bulb in the package, chat? Chat, you know why the bulb's in the package. Why is that bulb not outside of its package? Somebody's about to show that energy does not flow through wires. I can just tell immediately once I see that, my man is about to show that energy does not flow through wires, right? Oh, I love this guy.
It's not a stream particle. It's a wave motion. I think about what about electricity? Can electricity be through a flow of particles? So can be a wave motion. So I re-examine. So that's Ohm's law, which assumes electricity is a flow of electrons. So I said that in order for something flow at 70% of the speed of light, goes about Earth 5 turns per second. It has to have a continuous closed circuit. So what happens if I cut the surface open? Then we should not have a flow and should not have electricity. So then let's watch this one. So I have a fluorescent light bulb on original packaging without open. Okay. And see what happens.
Oh yeah.
So where does the electricity come from? That's a big moment.
That's a big ass moment, chat. That is, he knows how big that is. I love the smile on this man's face. I just cannot wait to talk to this guy. He's like, yes, dude. Where is electricity coming from, chat? You know the answer. We already know it. Where's the electricity coming from? Is that electricity coming from the power plant? No, it's not coming from the fucking power plant. It's not coming from the power plant. It's a local excitation. That's the reason why we have light. That's a local excitation that's occurring right there. It's a time-varying magnetic field that's being produced. Yeah, what an amazing experiment. All he showed there was that the Tesla coil is just a time-varying magnetic field. That's it. Basically, a magnet's just rotating, right? Isn't that what all's happening, I think? And you put it near a coil, and boom, energy. Electricity happens. Why? Why? Because he's churning up the ether. Yes, everybody in the chat saying ether. Because magnetism is churning up the ether. Where's all the energy coming from? All the time. Magnetism is churning up the ether. That's what Dr. Yu is saying right here. In fact, I got to write that down. Is magnetism churning up the ether? I just love saying that word. Churning up the ether. It's like I'm churning some butter. You know what I'm talking about, ladies. Don't cancel me. Don't cancel me, though.
To discovery what is the nature of electricity.
Okay.
What is electricity? It's oscillation of a magnetic particle. Electricity is a wave motion. That's how this one generated electricity. This is basically the miniature Tesla coil generated alternating magnetic field. Alternating magnetic field. See, when magnetic field alternating, we will see electric field. So what is that? Because when you have alternating magnetic field, so then the light bulb, every single particles in this bulb, these magnetic particles start to oscillate too. That oscillation of magnetic particle is my definition of electricity. Somehow, smallest atom has constantly some kind of electron constantly in orbit motion. So it never makes sense to me. So this time I have to say, after so many years study, I think about it. Do you believe called a perpetual motion machine? No physicist believe this is called a perpetual motion machine because it has been tried since the beginning.
Chat. Is this guy my favorite ever? Okay, so we just went from everybody understands light incorrectly, light is not a particle, to the ether is real, to where is energy coming from, to now atoms are perpetual motion machines. Which I don't know about you, chat, but it kind of sounds like he's going down the free energy train to me. And he's right. Energy is everywhere. Tesla knew this. And when we're talking about tapping in to the energy in the hydrogen atom, if we're talking about reducing the energy state of the hydrogen atom, we're talking about tapping into this 0 point energy, and it's going to bounce back. It's going to absorb energy from the 0 point field. It's going to bounce back. And how is that possible? Because these little atoms are perpetual motion machines. How are they not stopping? How are they running forever? Something's got to be powering them, right? Something must be.
Beginning of civilization, people have tried to create some kind of called a closed system, continuous running without losing energy. So because of that, what? Because this is going to be violate the fundamental law of conservation of energy. Because we always have friction, always create heat, sound, vibration. It always losing energy. So it cannot be perpetual motion forever. However, what we physics, proposed to the world is every single atom is a perpetual motion machine. That is the fundamental problem with modern physics.
Huh.
This is my model of atoms.
Oh, here we go.
Let's see. We know every matter, everything we see, touch, are compressible, which means there's an elasticity to it.
Yes.
If you compress it, it can recover it. In other words, between every single atom, there are space. No problem with that, right? Yeah, no, there are spacing. So the question is, I said, okay, so what force make an atom apart from each other? What is the fundamental force? We know these springs are made of atoms.
Yeah.
So this elasticity comes from the structure of atom. So what kind of force make them apart? The common answer from the audience is gravity. So my question is, no, gravity is attraction only force. If gravity is the force, keep them apart. So gravity is only attraction, so everything should be collect together, lumped together. So gravity cannot be the force, keep them apart. So what else the force can keep atom apart? I use this demonstration. Can you see there's a little shiny magnet here? So what happens if you look at it? This little thing have a spacing between two ends. So what happens if I do this one?
Magnetism.
You see there's a spacing.
Magnetism, it was what keeps everything. So basically, Dr. Yu here is going to present very powerful evidence that everything boils down to just magnetism. Just magnetism. He's saying, why is it that atoms stay a certain distance apart? Why is that? Why are all these things that we see, why are they doing what they're doing? And he's basically going to explain every single one in terms of magnetism. And the reason why I wanted to review this before I do the interview is because I don't want to rehash all of this with him. There's a few pieces I do want to rehash, but most of it I want to build on top of it and attack the interview from an angle of 0 point energy and get his further opinions on some of this stuff. So magnetism, the answer here. I think we're going to skip ahead just a little bit. What is the atom? And so then he's basically saying that there's one fundamental particle, that ultimately everything can be boiled down to a magnetic dipole. A magnetic dipole. Like if you don't know what a dipole is, just imagine the Earth's magnetic field. That's a dipole. And what Dr. Yu is saying is everything can be boiled down to just north and south, plus and minus from a magnetic dipole, including electricity, including energy. Everything can. And so in here, he's saying they explain why particles will cause gravitational attraction, but also to repel. Why? Because if it's plus and minus, they're going to attract. If it's plus and plus, they're going to repel to one another. And then he talks about his one fundamental force, which pretty much explains everything. Now here, he talks a little bit about plasma. Check this out.
See what happens in our real life. Our electrons are like charge repel. A plasma ball. So basically, it's a miniature Tesla coil. Mm-hmm. Did you see this lining filament, right? This means that inside of this ball, filled with millions or billions of electrons. Whenever you have some generate light, it's because it's electrons, some type of motion of electron generate light. So if Coulomb is correct, Coulomb law correct, electrons are like charge repel. So this filament should spread it all over. Mm-hmm. The last thing you would say, electrons are attract. If they attract, Coulomb's order would be a problem. Let's see what happens.
Okay. So why are they attracting?
Why they form a line? Mm-hmm. Continuous line. If electrons are negative charge, they should repel. Yeah. What makes them always attract together? So my son actually said, well, it could be just like a water hydrate, water come flow. So may not be enough say they are attract. So now that's what you say. If I spread my finger apart, mm-hmm. Did you see? Did you see? They mm-hmm. all want to come together. Yes. So why, like charge particle, attract? Mm-hmm.
Yo, that's a pretty powerful visual. I love this guy because he's prepared with the visuals. What did he just show there? What were we looking at in that plasma globe? We're looking at electrons. We're looking at a flow of electrons when we see that arc, right? We're seeing the arc of electrons. So why are they clustering together? If electrons repel each other, shouldn't they spread apart when they go from top to the bottom, when they go towards the glass? Why are they naturally trying to come together to create this filament? Why are they creating the filament? That would imply that an electron itself is more than just a negative charge. The electron is not just a simple negative charge. The electron itself is a magnet. The electron itself is positive and minus, which is why it can create a filament formation. It's not simple minus. Wow. That is a revolutionary idea. And by the way, this is nothing that's new. I'm just adding a little dramatic voice to it to make you guys, feel better about it. But it's important to understand. So we know just from looking at one of these plasma globes that the electron is not simply a negative charge. It actually has a positive charge component to it as well. It has its own magnetic field. And that's what causes it to attract into a filament. Wow. So why is this huge? Because I've been talking about Ken Shoulders, Hal Puthoff, these guys, and their condensed charge research. And the condensed charge research is the same effect. When we're looking at the MH370 plasma balls, why is it that all the electrons are clustered together in a shell? How'd they do that? How'd they get the electrons, all the yellow part? How'd they get the yellow part to group together? Because they figured out this magnetic effect to make it act as, to act counter to what we would imagine. They know that it's not, the electrons aren't just a negative particle. They know it's a balancing act. Quite incredible. Okay, let's let him keep going here.
Something's not adding up. I'm challenging the fundamental law of electricity.
Okay, you ready for this? So here's another kicker. So now what he's about to say is he's about to take it to the next level. In fact, maybe I'll just skip past this part because I can just explain it. Is he takes it to the next level. Dr. Yu says, There are no monocharged particles. The electron is not just negatively charged. The proton or positron is not just positively charged. How do you prove that? Well, it's actually pretty simple. Take just one ball of electron. You have an electron charge. Split it in half. You rip your electron in half into two smaller electrons. Okay, now get them to recombine. Wait. If they're just monocharged, they can't recombine because they're both negative, right? So since they're both negative, they would repel each other, which means they could never come back together, which means they could have never formed to begin with. So we just proved, or Dr. Yu just proved, that the electron cannot be single charged. A proton cannot be single positively charged either, because if you break one positively charged thing, if you break it into halves, there would be no way to get it back together again because they would repel. So it can't be that simple. It must be more complicated than there's just positively charged protons and negatively charged electrons. It must be a dipole moment. It must be. And now, once you realize that, you go, why is an electron and a positron even a different thing? Or is it just oriented differently, spin differently than the other one, And that's why I love this, is that now Dr. Yu is saying we don't need all this other stuff to explain these concepts. They're all just the same thing. You're just changing how it operates. I love it. The code of the matrix. Ashton is the friggin' code. I'm the architect, chat. We're learning. We're learning the ways. Okay, so that was the monocharged particle. And then here he goes. Here's the answer we all been waiting for. An electron is a magnet. Whoa.
So then what happens if I do this? The electron has both positive and negative charge. Now they can attract each other. That's exactly what's happening here. Electron is nothing more, just a little magnet. I hope you still remember atom is a magnet.
That's right. Yeah.
Electrons nearly 2,000 times smaller than atom is a magnet too, right? Yeah. Okay, so now I wanted to show, what about the smallest particle in the universe? If that's a magnet, right? So then it can show everything made by magnets.
Wow. So he's saying right there that electron is a magnet. That's why they can come together, because it technically has positive and negative, so it can come together, right? And then it's just a matter of how you stack it together. If I stack it like this, then it's become a very powerful magnet. But if I stack it like this, it's not going to be that powerful anymore, right? That's what he's saying. He's saying right there, how you orient and stack your magnet is going to depend then how powerful it is. That's the logic. And somebody just asked a great question. What is a photon then? What is a photon? That is going to be one of my questions for him. Because Einstein said that a photon is a packet of light, a quantum unit of light. Okay, well, under this perspective, is that still true? I don't know. Very curious to hear his response to that, because everything I've heard from Dr. Yu in this interview that he did, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. In fact, it's blown me off my feet. And I knew this guy was smart, chat. I've got the sixth sense when I watch an interview, like when I watched the Terrence Howard, you guys can go back to the live stream where we were reviewing that. And I was like, I want to talk to Dr. Yu. And then I find this interview and I'm like, holy crap. Like, how does Patrick Bet-David have this guy in his back pocket? Patrick Bet-David might be more connected than we think, chat. Okay. Okay, so neutral particles therefore cannot exist either. This is pretty interesting.
Could called a neutral particle be another smallest particle? Mm-hmm. So think about it. If we have two neutral particles, how could the two neutral particles binding together form a one bigger particle. It's called that. So now let's see, based on elimination method, either particle are charged, say like a negative charge or positive charge. This particle cannot exist. So we explained that during the electron. And the neutral particle cannot form a bigger particle. So then what is left? And we know the smallest particle transmitting light has to be magnetic particle. So that's where I conclude the smallest particle and the only particle can make up the universe we see, we feel.
So what he's saying is that the smallest particles cannot be neutral. That's another huge takeaway. Smallest particles cannot be neutral. Why? Because there's no way they could connect together. They don't have any charge. So he's saying that electrons must be bipolar and the smallest particles must be magnetic. They must be dipoles. They have to be. Wow. And now he's going to go into, and we're going to watch him explain all four forces right after he tells us what a charge is.
Is a magnetic particle. Okay, so at this moment, I want to show what is the application for it, right? So now let's imagine the first one we need to solve is electric charge. If the smallest particle or all the particles made up the universe are magnetic particle, so what is a charge? Baby?
It's a magnetic force.
Magnetic pole. That's what you got to see. Electrons are magnets. So the charge carried by electrons are magnetic pole. So electric charge, the original electric charge, this is one of the biggest mystery in the universe, is just magnetic pole.
Electric charge is just
which is what you mentioned to me earlier in the day, right?
So electric charge is just a magnetic pole. And now he's going to explain how all of the four forces basically just come from magnetism. And so this is actually a good way to put it, better than I could have thought. JK Philly fan. JK Philly fan's like a savant in here. When they do the movie about MH370, JK Philly fan needs to be played by, you know, one of the non-goofy sidekicks. Like he needs to have like a lab coat. Like JK Philly fan, it should be the one that was like the person that aced the SATs and then was, you know, just kind of in the background, but solving all the mysteries. Anyway, charge is spin precession. Spin precession. So if you imagine something spinning and then it like tilting. Okay, let's go back to our guy here.
For four fundamental forces, we have to unify. So I'm just trying to unify four forces. So that's called, one is called gravity. I will talk about that later. So now we know called the magnetic force, and one is called strong force, strong nuclear force, and one is called weak nuclear force. So I'm trying to unify what is a strong nuclear force.
Okay, strong nuclear force.
So now, so if electron are magnetic particle, and atoms are magnetic particle, so what is called a nuclear force?
I'm pulling together.
So we said nuclear force has called a strong nuclear force and a weak nuclear force. So what is a strong nuclear force? How they develop? Assuming we have a two-type charge, say electrons negative charge and protons positive charge, and the nucleus has protons or neutrons. So how could the protons in the nucleus combine together? Because we see the nucleus made by protons and the neutrons. How could a like charge particle combine together? We cannot, based on the current theory. So that's why we said that it has to exert a force stronger than magnetic repulsion to push them together. That's how called the nuclear force is being developed. The binding atom force is what? It's a magnetic force. The reason, since the atom particles are magnetic particles, what happens? Magnetic particles would attract them naturally together. They would attract them. We do not need another force to force them together.
Yes.
So I'm answering one of the biggest mystery.
So chat, I may even skip through these and just explain them because it might be even faster. So the nuclear force, the strong nuclear force says if you put things very close together, they're going to fuse together. But why do they do that? How can two things that are positively charged that should be repelling, how can they come together like that? Well, turns out classical physics just says we're just going to make up something called the strong nuclear force to explain it, because we've decided that there must be positive and minus separated charges that exist independently of one another. And he's saying the answer to that is no. He's saying that, of course, the answer is you just change your magnet around. Flip your magnet around. They're going to come together. That's it. So what is he saying right here? Long story short, what Dr. Yu is saying is that you can imagine electron as a spinning ball. Then what's a positron? Spinning ball spinning either the opposite direction or upside down. That's it. That's all it all boils down to. Just having a spin, having your thing spinning. Okay, it's spinning like this. Okay, change the orientation of the spin. That's literally all he's arguing right here. Flip your magnet. That's literally it. Yeah. So when people say, do you need a PhD to understand this? I don't know. Do you need a PhD to understand flipping a magnet? No. And if you're sitting there right now thinking, there's no way this can all be real, there must be some gap on how this doesn't make sense. Well, you're prepared to be disappointed. Here we go.
Called a strong force. I do not believe strong force existed, because if it does not need it, it should not exist. Another nuclear force called the weak nuclear force. So I want to show, does the weak nuclear force exist or not? We find out the neutrons. Neutron can do called spontaneously a radioactive decay. Neutrons can decay, can be called decomposed into one proton, one electron, and plus some neutrinos. So what force can make a neutron break? So we can have some particles fly out. So that's called beta decay. So basically electrons flying out of a nucleus. So that's why we said that.
Okay, so the weak nuclear force, we claim the weak nuclear force must exist because of this beta decay, where all of a sudden a neutron decays and electrons are released. Okay, well, how is that possible? He actually has a really good demonstration for this one. So we're definitely going to watch this one. Pay close attention here, because he's about to explain why the weak nuclear force doesn't even need to exist.
We're puzzled. If storms push them together, nothing should fly away, right? So what force is that? I try to demonstrate the weak nuclear force cannot exist either.
God, I love this guy,
so
chat.
The first thing is what happens. So these are 5 magnets. What happens if I separate them and then try to push them together? David, you have any guess? What's going to happen to them?
They're going to come together.
To repel or connect? Connect.
Attract. Because I was this way, I put it this way.
Okay, yeah.
So what happens, David, if I push them together?
They're going to attract.
Yeah. Brilliant. Now, the second question got a little bit more difficult. So if I separate them, turn the side 180 degrees.
So this right here, chat.
Happen if I push it.
Pay attention, okay? So he just flipped over these 2 ball magnets on the left. He just turned them over, right? So if it was north before, it's south now. So should be the opposite.
Closer towards each other.
Repel?
Because like charge repel.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So they repel, okay?
Yep. Repel until.
But whoa.
So now, the third question.
So if you bring them too close together, they will reorient. So notice what happened here, chat. They repelled.
Repel?
But if he brings them too close together, then they will reorient and attract. This is how we need to think about it, because the atoms are spherical.
So now, the third question. If I take one away from the side.
Now here it is, chat.
Right.
Here's the weak nuclear force, okay? So he pulls one away and he puts it on the other side. What's going to happen, chat? Okay. So he's going to take one of the balls from one side and he's going to put it near the other side and let it go. What's going to happen to our nucleus here? Imagine these balls that are grouped together are a nucleus. That's our nucleus that we've got. What's going to happen when this additional electron or this force rams into our nucleus? Let's see.
Here. Can you give a guess what's going to happen to them? Attract or repel, right? Or do nothing, right? But I'm going to make sure it has to do something so close enough. Let's see what happens.
Oh.
Did you see conservation of energies in work? So that's how, if you think about it, all the atoms formed by magnetic particles. So the chemical reaction or nuclear reaction is nothing more just exchanging particles.
Okay. My man's convinced me. Is there a new altar that we pray to new gods in the science community? Is it Bahamut or Mephisto? Which one do I have to pray to for the magnetism god or whatever is going on now? You've convinced me, sir. I'm on board. Yeah, I don't know. Just tell me what I got to do now, because that was enough for me, bro. Yeah, this is my new hero. Oh yeah, I'm sold. I'm sold. Once I saw that ball go flying across the room, I was sold. Why do we need the weak the weak force? We don't need the weak force. How does the neutron decay? Because it gets hit by some shit. It gets hit. There's energy everywhere. It gets hit by some shit, and then electrons get spurred out. I mean, he just explained it right there. As far as I'm concerned, all the other scientists in history are bitches basically now. Turns out science is a bitch again, chat. NASA went ahead and just bitched science down. Never thought I'd say those words, but there they are.
Set up. I do not need to put there because magnetic particle can attract particle in the same time. You can eject particle. That's exactly what they call the weak nuclear force do. You see, particle can eject radioactivity. Particle can fly out the nucleus. Where comes that one? It's magnetic repulsion. So now, let's say we unified three of the four now. Say magnetic force and a strong nuclear force does not exist. Weak nuclear force does not exist either, does not need it.
Damn, Chad.
The problem with current gravity is we're assuming gravity is attraction-only force, right? Attraction-only force. But if based on this theory, say smallest particle are magnetic particles. So that means no matter only attract, but actually they also repel. When you have two magnetic particles together, you see what happens. Even though like pole facing together, under the free state, they will free rotate. After rotate, and then opposite poles started facing each other and attract. So it's a resultant effect of magnetic attraction. Magnetic force will create the phenomenon. Looks like everything attracts each other. So for the last force we have not unified is gravity. So based on this theory, gravity is nothing more just magnetic attraction. Since
Wow.
I always have a problem with the chemical reaction. Whenever we do chemical reaction, we always generate a heat reaction. So two different substances mixed together suddenly generate huge heat and bubbling.
We're going to skip this part and go to the next here because vibration is the key, I think, is a good one. And he digs more into the concepts of like some of how this makes sense from the cosmological standpoint. But as we just saw there, he goes, we can explain even gravity as well. And his example of gravity, we're going to find it in this one. I tried to show it. I forgot to show it the last time we reviewed the Terrence Howard stream, but I think he shows it again here as well, is that it actually can explain gravity too. And so one of the questions is, why is gravity so much weaker than electromagnetism? Now, you should know the answer. If you've been paying attention during this live stream, you already know the answer to why gravity is weaker than electromagnetism. Everything is a magnet, right? Everything is a magnet. So what happens when if I align my magnets the long way, my magnet gets stronger. If I align my magnets the fat way, it gets weaker. So gravity is just a weak magnet. This big ball of mass called the Earth that we're sitting on is a magnet. Just a very, very weak magnet. The ball of Earth is just a weak magnet. So it is causing magnetic attraction, but it's causing a very small amount of magnetic attraction, but it seems large to us because we're pretty small compared to the size of the Earth. Pretty simple, huh? This guy is great, chat. What a guy. I can't wait to talk to this guy.
Particles. So when you rotate the magnetic particles inside of a magnetic field, what happens? The particles in the coil oscillate. So that's called electricity. Electricity is wave motion. Light is vibration of the medium, magnetic medium. And heat is a random vibration of atoms or molecules. It's all about wave motion, it's vibration.
It's
light
all about
is
wait, hold on. We got to listen to that again.
That's how
pause chat one more time. I mean, that was the money shot right there. Poor choice of words. It's light is just a vibration in the medium. Energy itself is just a time varying magnetic field. Heat, I forget what he said, but let's hear him say it again.
Because every single atoms inside of a coil are magnetic particles. So when you rotate the magnetic particles inside of a magnetic field, what happens? The particles in the coil oscillate. So that's called electricity. Electricity is wave motion. Light is vibration of the medium, magnetic medium. And heat is a random vibration of atoms or molecules. It's all about wave motion, it's vibration.
Wow. So yeah, just three things. So heat is just a vibration of molecules. Light is a perturbation in the medium. Electricity is a wave motion of a time varying magnetic field. Booyah, chat. I think I just blacked out. What did I just say? I'm pretty sure an alien just downloaded its PhD brain into me. It's getting scary, chat. We're leveling up real fast out here.
Light is oscillating. That's how our eyes can perceive light. Light come in, that's solar panel. So light come in is a magnetic particle, is a magnetic medium vibration. What happens to the atom in the solar panel? All the particles inside the solar panel, magnetic particle, of course, vibrate. That particle vibrate inside of the panel, started called wave motion. That's what electricity is. That's exactly what the retina works. Retina is just like a magnetic sensor, photo sensor. When you feel light coming, it's a magnetic vibration. You are the sensor, the magnetic particles are vibrating.
So from this perspective, it's just a completely different way to look at the world. Like now, light is a perturbation in the medium. And so we're just having this perturbation like hit our eyes as we're walking through the medium. It's a completely different perspective on the phenomenon. And then electricity is just a time varying magnetic field. That's it. That's all electricity is. Why is it, guys, if you don't know how an electric coil works or an electric motor, you're just spinning a copper coil through a magnetic field. That's it. It's not the wind that creates the electricity. It's not your hand cranking it that creates the electricity. It's the fact that you have a time varying magnetic field that generates the electricity. I've been saying that for over a year. And where did I learn it from? Tom Bearden. What you've heard from Tom Bearden, what I've been teaching that I learned from Tom Bearden, that keeping your dipole open, creating your asymmetry of positive and negative charge, creating your time varying magnetic field, that is where energy is coming from. That's where electricity is coming from. It's a perturbation in the medium, or a wave front in the medium, a magnetic wave front. And that's exactly what Dr. Yu is saying right here. Dr. Yu is pretty much saying that, I mean, I've got to get him on the record on his opinions on zero-point energy in the ether, because it sounds like he's saying the same thing here. He doesn't actually directly talk about it here, I don't think, but that's what he's saying, right?
So create electric signal, just magnetic oscillation.
Okay, he's going to repeat
you
what I
mentioned
just
earlier
said.
that the distinguishing between electromagnetism.
So in order to make the simplest electromotor, so I need a battery as a minimum element, because in electrical, we need the electric power. So in order to make motion, so I need a magnet. Let's see what happens if I put So I'm going to use the plastic cap here.
Okay, get ready. This is fun, chat.
That's how things in motion. So I have questions for David. What happens if I turn magnets around?
Okay, chat. What's going to happen if you turn the magnet around? Okay, so he's got a magnet underneath the battery. So he's got a magnet thing, and then he's got an electric thing, and then he's got his wheel on the top. So it spins one way based on what? The right-hand rule. Everyone knows the right-hand rule. If he flips the battery over, or if he flips the magnet over, what's going to happen? It's going to spin the other way, chat, right? Look at you big brains in the chat, everybody. Pat yourself on the back.
Maybe the other way.
Look at my little electrical engineers in here.
Yeah.
Further question.
Look at my little electrical
what if
engineers.
This time I turn battery around instead of a magnet around? Is that going to work?
Yes.
Which way then?
The other way. Yep.
You got it.
Yeah.
Why battery, positive, negative, and the magnets working exactly the same way?
Magnetic particle.
Electricity is just magnetic particle oscillation. So-called electricity and magnets just one thing. It's all because of motion of magnets. So that's why one exactly work the same way. The so-called battery is nothing more just a polarized, just magnets, just polarized magnets. The only difference is that when you form a conducting circle, it creates electricity is oscillation. You create the motion. When you have
a battery is just a magnet, a polarized magnet. A battery is just a polarized magnet. Love it. He just shows right there. It's such a simple theory. Whoops, that's not what I'm trying to press. It's such a simple theory where he just shows that electricity, it just comes from magnetism. You can derive electricity from magnetism directly. I mean, holy crap. That is... And we're not even done yet. We got some big questions here still.
a motion. Now you have a moving magnetic field interact with the magnets starting. The key point here I wanted to address is this is exactly how Earth is spinning. So why Earth is spinning? Because the core, the inner core of Earth is a metallic, solid metallic core. That's giant magnet. And outside of that inner core, they call it outer core, still inside is the little core. These are constant in motion. That's electricity. You can make particles in motion. That's electricity, right?
Holy crap, chat. Why are all the planets spinning in the same direction? Why do they spin in the same direction? Is that even real? Hopefully that is real. Actually, why do most planets spin in the same direction? Why do most... I think they actually did a research where 66% of galaxies spin in the same direction as well. Why is there a bias? Why do most galaxies spin in one direction versus the other? Well, he's explaining here it's not random chance at all. It's using the right-hand rule in electrical engineering. Take a look at the video I posted yesterday about veritasium and the right-hand rule. And you'll realize that spin creates angular momentum, which creates a force in a direction based on the direction of the spin. This is cool shit. And so when people will say, like, why are so many people convinced that there's a connection between spin and gravity? Because of course there is. Spin is everywhere. Literally everywhere. Why does the right-hand rule even exist? Why is there something called the right-hand rule based on physics? Because there is a foundational rule structure to how our universe works.
That electricity interacts with the magnetic core. What happens? Rotate, just like the sun rotating. So that's how Earth is spinning, and that's how solar system is spinning. Question for you. Where is the magnet in solar system?
The sun!
Can you give a guess?
The sun?
That's exactly. You nailed it. Because a star. The reason all the planets orbiting around the stars.
Pause, chat. Pause. We have very, very important. I saw a comment. Because God is right-handed. Obviously, this is true. Obviously, left-handed people are the spawn of the devil. It has been known. It's been passed down for many centuries, I think. And left-handed people are generally witches and or warlocks. I know I haven't talked about this much recently, but I do want to spread witch and warlock awareness. So there we go. Let's get back to the science.
Because star is a giant magnet. There's two problems with Newton's theory of gravity. Okay, one thing, assuming all matter only attract. So far, we found that all natural field forces have both attraction and repulsion. So that's why one thing is conceptually we cannot reconcile without force. Based on this theory, every matter made by magnetic particle, they can attract and can repel, so which make called anti-gravity available. Yeah. So this is a big thing. But another part is gravity is so weak.
Oh, here we go. Oh, shit. He's about to explain it for us, right? You can hear the academics seething right now. Oh, but he didn't explain why gravity isn't the same force as electricity, and the universe can't be electric. No. Uh-oh, chat. Uh-oh. Formation of neutral particles.
So I wanted to demonstrate this one. Say the neutral particle is made by magnetic particle. And that's why neutral particle can attract each other is also because magnetic attraction. So on my hand here are magnets.
You can hear him sweating.
So I'm putting in an eye. So these are formed as big long magnets. So I want to say what happens if I put this magnet on here, attracts. Oh, right? Yep.
You picked up this heavy ball. That ball is pretty heavy. Ball.
If I put it here, attract, of course. Oh, see, they attract all of them. Okay.
So we've got a big long magnet.
So now let's see what happens if I bend this way.
Okay, chat. It's quiz time. Let's see how my physics heads out there. Let's quiz time. Let's see how you do. Okay, so he just took this really long magnet and he was able to pick up some heavy thing, right? It was a ball or whatever, right? He picked it up. He took the same magnet, this long magnet, he broke it in half and he put it together. How many of those balls is he going to be able to pick up, chat? How many of those balls do you think he's going to be able to pick up? 1, 2, or 3 of the balls? I think there were 3 balls that he had. They got progressively smaller. Is he going to be able to pick up the big ball, the middle ball, the small ball? Damn, chat, some of you are too smart. Chat, some of y'all have to leave because you're too smart. I can't have any brainiacs up in this business. Anyway, okay, let's go. Let's see how it goes. You guys, you're upstaging me, chat.
David, can you make a prediction? What happens if I put this? Is it not a check anymore?
No.
I try to emphasize the difference. Magnetic attraction can change with the same mass. You see, I still have the same number of the little magnets, right? Once I fold them, you know what happens? Original magnets, if in series, become stronger magnets. But natural tendency is magnets neutralize each other.
Wow.
Now, becomes a neutral particle because on every single side, you have both positive and the negative at the same side, neutralized. So that's why.
Okay. I was previously all in, ready to go full cult mode for this, and now I'm ready to shank somebody. If you don't believe in the one magnetism theory of our god Magneto, leader of the X-Men, maybe, question mark, then you might have to get shanked. Shanked by a magnetic shank, by a lightsaber. Because clearly this is the one true answer to all things. Wow. Chat, anytime any PhD physicist tries to tell me or ask why gravity and electromagnetism are so different in terms of their force, I'm just going to clip that for them and just show them that clip. Why is gravity weaker? Because he just showed you that there's magnetic cancellation that occurs if you just go from hamburger to hot dogs. Go from hamburger to hot dog buns, and then all of a sudden your force gets a lot weaker. In fact, it neutralizes. So what that means is our planet is mostly neutral, a mostly neutral magnet with a slight asymmetry. And that creates our gravitational field that we feel. Whoo! Yeah, maybe it's, I don't know if it's, I don't know if I would, I kind of want to walk back that I said cancellation. Cancellation might not be the right word, but maybe it is. I don't know. Okay. Now let's go back to my guy here. Let's let him play this out.
What appears, every particle appears to neutral is actually it's a tendency of magnetic to neutralize each other parallel. So,
wow.
So that's why we can do the magnetic particle can make a neutral particle. That's what I believe. All the neutral body formation is becomes the neutralized magnetic field.
Okay, matter can repel.
Assuming all matters only attract, does not repel. Based on the theory, every matter made by magnetic particle they can attract and can repel. People would ask, do you have evidence matter can repel each other? I said, yes, I do. That's one of the biggest mystery in physics called dark energy.
Okay, before we get to the home stretch here for dark energy, let me do a few more donos. Matt 1776, cool to see you in the chats. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, brother. And then in YouTube, what do we got going on here? A guest for our truth, Josh Polarity. I'm actually going to talk to Josh next week. I am talking to Josh as well next week. We're going to do it on one of the live streams, I think, by the way, guys. C. Proust, do you think they could teleport something that was on the ground with the orbs, or would it have to be levitated like a plane? This is a great question, C. Proust. I think that the technology they had in 2014 needed to be in the air. I think it's also possible they could do it with the water, but I think that the heaviness of the water is going to be a problem. I think that they had to do it in the air or in outer space, but obviously it wasn't in outer space. So great question. And the point of this question is really the technology has limits. It's not just God mode. It's still something that had to be engineered. And anything that has to be engineered has weak points, limitations, vulnerabilities, ways where it can be improved. So I do think it would possibly have to be picked up and dropped off in the air, but who knows? Thank you very much, Truth Teller, for that donation and those kind words, and for Tracy Scott for those kind words as well. Aaron Rubin says, I agree with magnetism, but there also can be neutrinos. Yeah, I think, well, maybe if you flip magnets, they can attract or repel, but on the sides, they don't have any charge. Exactly. And that was what was just shown a second ago. Energy, frequency, and vibration, and magnetism. And I have a feeling that we're going to find out that neutrinos can be explained through simple magnetism as well. And I've never really loved the idea of subatomic particles. I just think that things get smaller and smaller, and we're talking about scale and variance. Small things can get bigger and bigger. I think the MH370 videos are really absolute proof of scale and variance. We're seeing that we can create an atom that's as big as an airplane, 20 feet in diameter. Gigantic, gigantic plasma atom. Oh, Weanon Riders with that huge dono from 20 minutes ago. Thank you very much. When I was younger, I tried to imagine understanding the universe with no senses. What came to mind was a sphere of mirrors, resonance, and a torus being spun in one direction on a plane, creating endless Conway's game of life, knots of complexity. Damn, chat, we got Confucius up in here. That was poetic. Wow, Wyanon Riders, thank you for dropping that donation and a little bit of something to think about. Thank you very much. If you design, exist, DNA, protons, etc., in the wrong direction, it can destroy us all. Okay, well, that was a little dark, but okay. Thank you very much for those donations. Okay, guys, let's finish this up. Now, dark energy. What do we think his answer is going to be for dark energy? So for dark energy, we need a reverse gravity. And we know that magnetism has positive and minus. So whatever his answer is going to have something to do with a collective negative magnetic force. Let's take a look and see.
we observed through the Hubble Space Telescope, star system or even galaxies fly away from each other, not just coasting at the same velocity, but actually accelerating velocity, fly away from each other. So think about it. Based on the Newton's law, in order for something flying away and at accelerating velocity, so that means it has a force. So what force pushing them away? That's the mystery. So we said must existing dark force or called dark energy. So now I try to explain this one. Say we do not need dark energy. Things can, flying away, accelerating. So what force is that? I use this kind of plasma ball. Did you see this lightning filament? See, them spread it almost equal spacing around the entire globe, right? So my question is, what force keep them equal space between them? Did you see it? Equal space between them. What force is it? It's the same force. Okay, so now let me use this demonstration.
Okay, so
I have a little.
What is he saying? What is he implying right away? He's saying when you look at the plasma globe, which, by the way, is basically saying that the universe is electric and plasma, to say that. He's saying, why do all the little tendrils, why are they separated? It almost looks like they're evenly separated throughout the plasma globe. Why are they looking equally separated out? Well, because they're repelling each other, right? The collective charge of each filament is repelling each other filament. This actually makes me wonder, what is the actual shape of the universe? Because this would imply the shape of the universe should have filaments. If the universe is electric, the shape of the universe should be somewhat related or similar to what we see in a plasma globe. Because you're going to have attraction and you're going to have repulsion. And you're going to have this balancing act going on between them all the time.
Little magnets inside called the leaning tower of Pisa. Okay, the reason I put a little magnets here is because these are the world's strongest magnets. If I use my bare hand, my hand will turn pink or red and becomes painful because every particles are magnetic particles being clouded my bloodstream. So that's why I work with it. So then what I'm going to do? So I have three called just iron bars. Okay, so these are not magnetic. These are not magnetic. So what happens if I put this one here, and then put another one?
Okay.
Put the third one. What did you see?
They kept the space just like
wow.
Kept space.
Yeah.
So what force keep them apart?
Magnetic
force, because it's magnetized. That's the same force keep this light filament separate. That's exactly the same force keep a galaxy flying away from each other because of space filled with magnetic medium. Every galaxy or cluster galaxy are magnetic, a giant magnetic object. Space is polarized, like a pole repel. So that's why galaxies fly away from each other.
Wow. I am now 90% sure that if I were to show Dr. Yu the videos, he's going to say it's 100% real. He's going to say it's 100% real because what he's explaining here now is that if we were to simply charge up magnets, create very powerful magnets, we could create gravity, super powerful gravity. Because all he's saying is that gravity is magnetism. That's what he's saying right here. Straight up. Gravity is magnetism. And, if you really distill it down. And what are we saying that the orbs are, chat? Why is it Ashton 4 orbs? Why is it 4 orbs? Because we have 3 orbs that, let's say, each have 1 unit of ball lightning charge in them, okay? So let's say that this is 3 total units of charge. It can be positive or minus. It actually doesn't matter. Let's say it's minus. We have 3 minus units of charge around our Boeing 777. So what do we have on the other side of our slingshot? right? We've got our plane. We got our plane over here. And then what do we have over here? We have, on the other side, 3 units of the opposite charge. 3 units of minus charge over here, 3 units of positive charge over here. And some people would say, well, are you saying then there should be 3 orbs on the other side wherever the plane shows up? No, we don't need 3. Just have 1 orb that has 3 units of charge. And then what's going to happen? The 3 units over here plus the 3 units over here, they're going to attract together. Why? Because one's positive and one's minus. Dr. Yu's telling us that everything is just positive and minus. I think it's a beautiful theory, personally. So let's listen to how he explains why would neutral particles then attract? Why would a neutral particle attract? Because we have neutral particles are showing gravity. But if it's all just magnetism, then why does a neutral particle attract something? And the answer where I think we're going to find is that at small scales, you still have the magnetic fields are still there. They're just weakened. And even though they're still there, that means they're going to eventually attract if they get close enough. But here we go.
I wanted to say how neutral particles attract each other. If all neutral particles make a magnetic particle, they far away, they are neutral. Because the magnetic field at any direction, you have positive, you have negative, it's neutralized. However, if they are close enough, what happens?
Yep.
They are started to see the minute magnetic attraction force. Positive and negative, so they started rotating and then attract. They start attracting. That's where gravity is. Since every particle made by magnetic particle, so I believe, so the only fundamental force is a magnetic force. It can describe every single phenomenon. Gravity force can describe.
Okay, wow. So gravity is just neutral magnets. That's it. Because even neutral magnets have a tiny amount of attraction. And that's the reason why gravity is so much weaker than magnetism. Because magnetism is just neutral magnets that have a very minute amount of charge. Boom. Yeah, by the way, Edward Lynn, if you ever want to just come out and tell the truth about the videos, I mean, I feel like we've kind of just laid it all out there already at this point. We're out here just like literally solving the physics of the universe at this point. Oh, well, let's just keep going. Dark matter chat. So what's going to be the answer for dark matter? The answer to dark matter is the simplest one, if I think, in my opinion. So dark matter says that galaxies are rotating faster than we would predict they should rotate. What's the answer? Angular momentum. Dun, 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 dun. It's going to turn out to be magnetism once again. So it's been speculated that magnetism could answer dark matter for a long time. The answer is the universe is electric, the universe is plasma, and the magnetic and electric fields are much more powerful at the galactic level, at these huge cosmological structure level than what the academics think is possible. Universe is electric, chat. Here we go. He's going to explain.
Yes. Now, let's think about it. What if we assuming the attraction between the galaxy and the sun and the star system is gravity? Let's assume that. Mm-hmm. So what happens? We use gravity to calculate the attraction. The result will be we're missing mass because we already did find out that the galaxy, at the edge of the galaxy, star system rotating too fast. Mm-hmm. So no amount of mass with all the observed mass in the Milky Way galaxy can hold them together. So that's why we said that we're missing matter. That's a dark matter, right? Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, if the attraction is a magnetic attraction, you're changing the Newton gravity law to use magnetic law. Nothing violates because the magnetic attraction is 10 to the 36 times higher. Everything will be normal. The same thing happens to the black hole.
Wow. Holy smokes, chat. So yes, we don't need dark matter anymore because magnetism, if you replace magnetism and you do what he just did, where you make your magnets neutral, boom, the equations add up. Everything, dark matter is no longer needed anymore. Now we can perfectly explain why the stars at the edges of the galaxies are moving as fast as they are when they should be moving much slower. We can now explain why there's missing mass and we had to add dark matter. There is no missing mass. It's just not there. Just not there. I'll post a link to this in the chat. And so then, what is a black hole? For the record, chat, I haven't even listened to this part yet. And what did I just tell you at the beginning of this live stream? Future Nobel Prize for whoever connects a black hole to a wormhole. And I already know, without even having watched this yet, he's going to say something here that connects it, because he's saying electromagnetism connects everything. And I'm saying that there's 3 balls of lightning circling around a plane before the plane disappears out of the sky. So I'm pretty sure we're going to find the connection right here, but let's see what he says.
The reason we find that every center of a galaxy has a black hole, the reason is we observed at the center of a Milky Way galaxy, the stars that are nearby the center of the giant paraship core orbiting revolution, rotating too fast. Mm-hmm. In order for gravity, if we use Newton gravity to calculate it, you know what happens? We said we have to have a 4.3 billion mass of solar mass in order to accommodate to the star system orbiting the center of the galaxy core, in order to hold them together. Mm-hmm. It's because we use gravity, use a very weak force. But if we use magnetic force calculation, nothing. We do not need a black hole to hold, to create this kind of motion, because magnetic force is dramatically bigger than gravity. So the conclusion is we used wrong concept to calculate the attraction force between galaxy and the star system. Mm. If we use magnetic attraction, that means we do not missing this called dark matter, and we do not need called a black hole.
Wow. Woo! We don't need black holes at all if we have magnetism, because magnetism is so much more strong that we no longer need this giant amount of mass to explain why the galaxy can rotate. Wow. That is wild. That's a hot take, chat. Imagine if black holes are fake and what we've been saying is a black hole is actually just a wormhole. And the only thing that's real is actually wormholes, and black holes aren't even actually real. Damn, that is a wild take, chat. I don't know. I'm not convinced, but I just love spicy takes. So that's why I love it, because that kind of makes sense with what I was saying in the beginning of the live stream. People are saying, like, remember, what did the lady say? She said a small black hole would suck in the entire universe. And we know that's wrong, because we have seen now how quickly a black hole equalizes. Even a black hole that was big enough to absorb a Boeing 777 equalized in 0.1 seconds. It was there and gone instantly, which would imply that it should be very difficult for a black hole to form. Very difficult. If a black hole doesn't form when we make one the size of a Boeing 777 and doesn't become self-sufficient or self-sustaining, then it's going to be pretty damn hard to make a consistent black hole. Not impossible, but difficult. And so what I like about that is that it challenges the idea of the requirement for a black hole in nature. I still think black holes are absolutely possible, but maybe this means we don't need as many black holes in the universe as what our current models show. Are those supposed to be little injector joints? Anyway, that's pretty fun. Okay. Pretty wild. Now, let me see if there's anything else we want to look into here. Magnetism versus gravity. Yeah, let's look at one more thing here. There's like 5 more minutes, maybe less of this, and we'll call it. Ashton's saying black hole a lot. Yeah.
So I want to demonstrate the difference between magnetic attraction and gravity. So as a magnetism, say if I use this one to attract magnets. So what happens if I fold? what happens if I fold them? If you use the gravity concept, this force only increase because we still keep having the same mass. Center of gravity is lower. That means the distance is closer. We should have a higher attraction force, right? Let's see what happens. Why more local, even more neutralized? That's how the neutral particle forms. I believe you have the same mass, you have a different mass.
So the fatter, basically what he's saying right here on the screen, he's saying the fatter your thing gets, your magnet gets, the less powerful it is. And what you're doing is you're converting from electromagnetism, which is very powerful, to gravity, which is very weak, but still exists. And Matt, thank you for the donation. What do you think their case is for this tech to disappear a nuke? You don't even need to use this to disappear a nuke. We have directed energy weapons that can detonate a nuke. We want our adversaries making nukes because nukes are obsolete. Did he just disprove blackheads always thought they were sus? I think black holes is what you meant to say, Matt. I don't know if he disproved black holes, but I think that he's thrown a lot of cold water on the idea. Now, remember, it's just a matter of concept. A black hole might just be a wormhole, and we've shown those can exist, at least for 0.1 seconds. So a black hole, if it's just a rip in space-time, that's very real. What I think Dr. Yu is really saying is that there may not be these gigantic primordial black holes at the center of all galaxies. We currently have this belief that every galaxy must have a black hole at the center of it because we need this gigantic force to be able to spin the entire galaxy around. And the galaxy is huge. So the idea here is that we might not need that giant black hole. We might not need that black hole. We might be able to just use magnetism instead.
Magnetic force attraction. That's what I believe. Newton's called the universal gravitational constant, the big G, is a calibration constant only between neutral particles or between Earth, nearly neutral, attract to sun, to magnetic particles. It's calibration particle. If you have but between the stars, the solar system, and the galaxy, now it's totally magnetic attraction. So that gravity G constant is no longer valid because you have the same mass, you can have a different magnetic attraction force.
Okay.
Antimatter is created by mathematical equation. The Big Bang theory said universe created from nothing. So how can you create it from nothing? Oh yeah, we can create things from nothing because we have a matter, we have antimatter. But if you now think about it, if all matters created by magnetic particles are magnetic particles, so what is the antimatter? Antimatter, they have two definitions. One is a genetic dimension, so matter and antimatter meet together, annihilate it, and create a huge explosion in energy, annihilate it. That kind of definition, antimatter, does not exist. It violates the fundamental law of conservation of a mass. That's the foundation of chemistry, right? Your mass cannot be created or destroyed. So then there is another called operational definition of antimatter. They said, oh, matter and antimatter, identical mass, only different in charge. So a matter and antimatter have an opposite charge. Everything else the same. If you use this operational definition, matter and antimatter are themselves. You see, if this is a matter particle, has positive, negative, antimatter is another particle, opposite. So have a positive, negative. The other one have negative, positive. You can say have opposite charge. But in reality, it's just.
But isn't the problem with this theory, like if he's saying here that antimatter, if he's saying that antimatter is just the opposite charge, and because you can't have something that annihilates, because if it annihilates and releases this energy, then you're violating conservation of energy. You're getting more energy out. So he's saying that that doesn't really make sense. But then he's saying here that it must be like a monoparticle. But then the problem is he just said that everything is a dipole. So how can the annihilation occur unless both dipoles are exactly equal and opposite? Interesting.
Yes, matter. It's just matter and antimatter just itself. When I first developed the theory, the first true test I did is ask one of the top chemists in the Kennedy Space Center. His PhD project almost win Nobel Prize in 2010. I knew he's very good, so I tested him about the theory. I said, so tell me, if I tell you there's no electrons inside of an atom orbiting, no motion, no energy orbiting, what do you tell me? He said, you are right. Because one thing I noticed since my middle school year is when I go to physics class, they said atoms are constantly in motion, like perpetual motion. But the next hour, I go to chemistry class. Everything's stable, stationary. I thought, that's strange. And so that's why after I developed it, I said, for chemical structure and in the stable structure, always certain angle, certain structure, the electron cannot moving away. So that's why I asked him. And he said, you're right. He added one more, the most, it is vibrating, which I agree. Everything's vibrating.
It's vibrating. Wow. What a way to end that. He says it's not moving. Everything's just vibrating. That's what Salvatore Pais says. Is the 0 point energy vibrating? We have some amazing questions for the Hard Truths interview, I think, guys, for Dr. Yu. So, Dr. Yu says everything is magnetism. And then to the point at the end there, how can you explain matter, antimatter, charge, minus charge? That's the part where he's broaching on how much energy is in the 0 point energy field. If there is energy out there, then we are going to bypass conservation of energy because we have this reservoir we can tap into, which means now we can have interactions occur where we get more energy out than what we were locally getting in our reality. And yes, vibration and spin are so important. And now, doesn't it make so much sense what Nikola Tesla wanted us to understand? Energy, frequency, and vibration. It really comes down to vibration, and it comes down to spin, and it comes down to magnetism. I love this live stream tonight because it just simplifies the concepts for me to understand it. If I can't understand something in terms of simple magnetism now, then I'm not going to give it a lot of weight. Because it looks like, as Dr. Yu explained, everything can be boiled down to simple magnetism. And now everybody that watched this stream, you all, like 800 people live, you all know the answer now to why gravity and electric force are so different in their strength. Why is gravity so much weaker than magnetism and electricity? It's weaker because it's the same thing, but it's been stacked up, hamburger style, making it weaker. What happens when you fold a magnet in half? It gets weaker. That's the answer. Chat, we are on effing fire. I feel like an NBA player that's just dropping. I feel like I'm Kobe Bryant, like dropping 40 points like 20 nights in a row. That's what it feels like with some of these live streams. We have just been crushing it, chat. So we had the NG8 fusion demo. We figured out hydrinos, negative energy. We've got the ultraviolet light photon release from the MH370 videos. We've got magnetism as the answer to all of it. Plus, there is absolutely nothing I heard tonight in this that rules out 0 point energy. If anything, what he was saying fits perfectly within the 0 point energy framework and view of the universe. So in my interview with Dr. Yu, I'm going to ask him questions that help us understand how this UON theory fits in with the 0 point energy view of the universe and Salvatore Pais's Pais effect and superforce. Imagine if he's read Pais's work. That'll be interesting. Maybe I need to ask him about that. Okay, guys, thank you so much for checking this out tonight. I have a couple quick things I want to show. We want to do our moment of Zen tonight, guys. I got a good one for you. Get ready for it. Where is it? That ain't it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Hold on. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Oh. Wait. That's not right. There it is. Wait. Let me make sure we get the screen right. Hold on. Wait. This is the one I want.
That guy is she's.
Or is it simply an identity where people display themselves on social media as spiritually enlightened?
I'm a starseed. I'm a starseed. I'm a starseed. I'm a starseed.
Can living like these people suggest actually make your life more?
Chat, imagine not being a starseed. Chat, some of y'all have not been touched by the blue aliens or whatever. Thank you guys in the pill chat. Thank you very much as well in Rumble. Thank you guys on YouTube as always. Guys, okay, that wasn't really our moment of Zen. Here's our real moment of Zen. Joe Rogan on Ball Lightning.
Are not UFOs.
No,
they
but I guarantee we do see things
Yeah.
that we think is something else, and it's a UFO.
Yeah.
I could see that
100%.
happening also.
Oh yeah, people see the Saturn. They think Saturn's a UFO. They think, people see things too, And then there's also a weird phenomenon that's real, like ball lightning. Ball lightning is a type of lightning that like juts around like a ball, like a giant softball of lightning, just darting around the sky, and then it goes away. And it's just a weird form of lightning that has been documented. But if you saw that, if you were in the middle of like New Mexico by yourself camping and you saw that, you're like, fuck, man. You think it's a fairy or something like that. Oh my God, man, angels. Imagine you're on mushrooms and you see ball lightning. You're like, what the fuck, man? You're seeing traces behind the ball lightning. You would 100% believe and feel like you came in contact with an angel. You would believe and feel like something from another planet communicated with you. You'd probably fill your head up with all this important shit that it told you that you have to tell people. I've got to tell people, man, we're doing it all wrong. We're all one, man. We're all one. We can't be fighting these wars. It's so foolish, and they want us to know. They want us to take care of Mother Earth. Meanwhile, you just saw ball lightning while you're on mushrooms.
They want us to know, man. They all want us to know. Call me Joe Rogan. Peace out, Mitch 370X. I love you guys. Later. This is awkward.
Infrared eyes, scanning the black, tracking the heat, never turning back. Control 22, a covert gaze. Control 33, in the cosmic maze. Controls in the mix, secrets untold. Silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As peers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. In the silence of space, they keep their post, shields unseen yet feared the most. With precision and speed, they warn of danger, keeping us safe from the missile's anger. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. And roles in the mix, secrets untold, silent watchers, brave and bold. In the shadows, they silently glide, protecting our interests, far and wide. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting us to threats afar, guiding our defenses like a guiding star. As beers, sentinel of the night, watching over with infrared sight, alerting